Tucker's job wasn't to go in there and be the PhD. His job was exactly what he accomplished. I mean, again, nobody else in the world at this point in time could have done what Tucker did to bring the attention. I mean, he had the help of Elon Musk and X, but the point is, 300 million, the numbers may approach $1 billion by the time this is done. I mean, come on, man, that's unprecedented, and Tucker deserves all the credit in the world. But Putin, throughout this interview, was just looking at him. I mean, look at the body language of Putin. He's just sitting there going, "You didn't
the
prepare at all."
faces. I mean, you could literally take screenshots almost every couple of seconds, and it would, just meme worthy, because Putin's face was so. I mean, he's a very animated, charismatic speaker when he is in his element, but at the same time, yeah, there were just many opportunities for him to make a lot of interesting faces, given what he was being.
The thing that I've learned about the Russians in interacting with them is they're very forgiving of. They don't expect me to be a PhD. All right. I mean, and I'll talk with them, and you can see them going, "You got that about 80% right, Scott. But you got to work on the last 20%. But you tried." That's the important thing. You showed us enough respect to actually try and learn about this. And we respect you for it. We appreciate you for that. We appreciate the effort. You made an effort. That's all they want. They want to be respected. Not to be worshipped, not for us to fall on our knees and pray, but just to say, "Hey, I respect you enough to try and learn your history and to try and put it in a proper perspective." Tucker Carlson was so disrespectful in this interview. Now he'll claim he wasn't, but I'll counter that he was, because you're interviewing the president of Russia. It's sort of like the biggest interview of modern times, and you weren't prepared. You didn't do your homework. You didn't show them the respect. You couldn't put their history in a proper perspective. You couldn't comprehend their history. You couldn't ask appropriate follow-on questions, and you lost control of the interview. The Russian president took control of the interview and basically laid out the message he wanted to give out. But it was your job as the interviewer to extract that from the president, but you didn't. The president took control of it, and he gave you the material, which is good, because your job was to get the voice heard, and you succeeded. But I don't claim to be the world's greatest expert on Vladimir Putin, but I can say that I've watched him enough interacting. His body language was just basically saying, you invited me to the party for this, Yeah. You didn't do your homework. Is this all you got? I mean, literally, he was just looking at him like, "No, you told me that this is like, have you ever seen that movie, Heaven Can Wait, Warren Beatty? It's a classic movie, but basically he's a football player who gets hit by a bike, or he's on a bike, gets hit by a car, but the angel pulls his body out too soon and assumes he's dead. But it wasn't his time. He would have survived that, but his body got cremated. So now if they find him a body, and long story short is he wanted to get back and play football. So he was a billionaire, so he bought the football team, and then he got a tryout. Okay, so he's at the tryout. Now, at the tryout, in order to win, he has to show up and actually be physically fit, know the plays, know the stuff. And he showed up and he did it. I feel like Putin felt like he was the coach of that football team, the Los Angeles Rams, and Tucker Carlson was saying, "Hey, I want to try out. Give me a chance." So he gave him the shot. And Tucker Carlson came there, and he was on a pogo stick with a clown face saying, "I'm ready to play NFL quarterback." And Putin's like, "No, you're not. You told me you wanted this interview. My God, 3 years you've been asking for this interview, saying you want this interview. We gave you the interview. And this is what you bring to the table? A pogo stick and a clown mask? You didn't bring NFL quality football skills?" Yeah. I don't know. I can't speak for the Russian president. I don't pretend to, but just his body language alone was just like, "No, man, you didn't do your job."
Yeah, there were certainly some moments of that interview where I felt like Putin was in that situation where, you've been invited to a party, but you really haven't wanted to go to any parties that you were invited to by this particular person or group of people. Then you finally go and you're like, I shouldn't have. I shouldn't have come because especially the moment where he was asked about China, there were a few moments where he's asked about China where in both instances the insinuation was that either China is not feared by the United States, but the United States fears Russia, or that China is replacing the United States or the unipolar West, collective West, in the BRICS formation. And in both of those instances, I feel like Putin was definitely in that moment where he's just like, this is really the question you're going to ask, because it's not so difficult to understand the China-Russia relationship, even if you know, even all the things that you just mentioned, Scott, notwithstanding the history, understanding Russia, even if you don't understand any of that, you just do some cursory research and you understand that Russia has a very different viewpoint than that. So to even
Yeah,
ask that
but I
question is
but I also
interesting.
hope that Tucker took the following lesson away, because I saw him in Dubai. I think it was yesterday. He was speaking at Dubai, and he said, I mean, he's what I call an 8-day wonder. I mean, he went to Russia for 8 days, and suddenly he's been awoken, which is good, good. Um, but hey, Tucker, what would happen if you went to China? I mean, you're sitting here, you're such a xenophobe. You hate China. You're trying to, pit China against Russia and all this stuff, negative, negative, negative. Do you think for a moment, Tucker, that if you went to China and gave China 8 days, interviewed, Xi Jinping, maybe, do you think your mind would be blown? I mean, high-speed trains, they actually work in China. There's a whole bunch of them. Um, Clean infrastructure. I just think that, Tucker, if he's truly open-minded, his next step should be to go to China. Um, I think he was crudely trying to create a situation where he could pit Russia against China as some sort of
Yeah.
neoconservative fantasy of
Which
splitting
is
Putin and
weird,
Xi
which is
Jinping.
strange because you're with Vladimir Putin, who is not going to entertain that to any significant degree. But continue.
No, no, I mean that. Well, Putin's like, we don't get to pick our neighbors.
Yeah, it's like,
China's our neighbor, whether you want us to be or not. They're there, and we just happen to be getting along great right now. He talked about trade, balance in trade, because that's one of the big things. I mean, you saw this with and Tucker Carlson. I apologize, Tucker, if you're watching. I don't mean to be picking on you. You did a great job. Could have done better, but you did a great job. But
right.
you know, Joe Biden did the same thing. Listen, you remember when Joe Biden met with Vladimir Putin back in June of 2021 in Geneva in the lead up to this whole special military operation, trying to talk, and then his press conference afterwards. Well, I shouldn't talk, but I'll talk about it anyways. I told Putin, man, you don't want to do this. That China's big, and they're going to take over your economy, and they're going to. You need to come over to us. You need to break apart. And you know, I'm just sitting there going, didn't the CIA brief you on anything, boss? I mean, why would you say something so utterly stupid? I mean, I know by just watching Russian news that Vladimir Putin and Xi Jinping actually like each other. They actually attend each other's birthday celebrations. They make pancakes together. They have real conversations, human to human conversations. It's not superficial like the kind of crap you pull on them. And if you think that your little statement there in Geneva was going to suddenly make Vladimir Putin go, "Oh, bang, damn,
Oh
I
yeah.
should have had a V8." You're right. Hey, Lavrov, yeah, terminate everything with China. We ain't doing it now. No, 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 no. I'm going over to America because Joe Biden showed me the light. It's just stupid. It shows a lack of sophistication, a lack of comprehension, a lack of understanding. Um, and no one even considers the fact that, let's say you're the Chinese. You're looking at how the West is posturing against Russia, going, if you remove the word Ukraine and put the word Taiwan, that's the same thing they're doing to us. And if we let them get away with it with Russia, they're going to turn around and try to do it with us. So the place to stop the West right now is Ukraine. And China has finally come to the realization. I mean, their new defense minister came out and said, we're with Russia all the way on Ukraine. There's no daylight. We're, because in the past they were like, we like the Russians and everything, but Ukraine, Westphalian principles, we can't, we don't. Not anymore. China went, we're with Russia 100% on Ukraine. 100%. There's no daylight because they recognize, finally, China realizes that what the West tried to do to Russia through Ukraine is exactly what they're trying to do to China through Taiwan. And again, the CIA's job is to know this. The CIA's job is not your job as an intelligence officer is never to tell your boss what they want to hear. That's not your job at all. That's what a PR person does, a campaign manager. Job as the intelligence officer is to put the harsh truth on the table. Say, these are the facts. Now you do with them as you wish. You shape policy around the facts, but the facts are the facts. I can't sit here and tell you something that isn't backed up by reality. I'm here to give you reality. And the reality is Russia and China, they're like this, man. They complete each other.
Yeah, that's 100% true. And the interview, as you said, it was a really great opportunity, for all of my criticisms, my suspicions of my criticisms of Tucker Carlson, that he did this at all and that it turned out the way it did was a huge service. So I definitely acknowledge that. But of course, we saw so many examples of how even when you're in the room with someone of the stature of Vladimir Putin, that high level kind of interview, it's hard to shed that American exceptionalist baggage. There was a lot of baggage that was brought in there. And I think the amazing thing was that Vladimir Putin showed just how prepared he is as a leader. While you have Kamala Harris and all of these the spokespeople for the Biden administration having to scream at the top of their lungs that Biden's memory is okay. Biden is okay. Everything is going okay. You don't have to worry about Joe Biden, as he's mistaking the Egyptian president with a Mexican president, and just having one memory lapse after another. Vladimir Putin just was interviewed, and what was supposed to be, I don't think it was that tough of an interview, but at the same time, it is a risk to go to the Western media of any kind, even an independent now like Tucker Carlson, and go there and just give the Russian perspective. It is something that obviously takes a lot of care, and it's a huge decision. And the fact that Putin did that and just hit the ball out of the park without seemingly even trying, I think just shows the vast differences of where Russia is right now and where the United States is. And so anyway, last reactions to maybe this interview.
Well, let me just say this. I don't know how Tucker prepared for this, to be honest. I mean, he hasn't told us how he prepared for it. He is a professional. Tucker may have done this on purpose, may have, done this, to this ill-prepared interview to give Putin the chance to say what Putin wanted to say. Because Tucker's questions were sophomoric. They were simple. But I don't think so. I think Tucker thought that he was prepared. I'll tell you who was prepared: Vladimir Putin. Again, as someone who's been a Putin watcher for 20 plus years, look what Putin did with Angela Merkel. He knew she didn't like dogs. And so Putin comes in all friendly and he brings his dog and has his dog hanging out by her and she's uncomfortable. He threw her off, but it's a test, because if she's a pro, yeah, the dog's there, she's uncomfortable. But now by being uncomfortable, Putin gets to test her to see how prepared she is, how she performs under pressure. I mean, the guy wasn't a KGB agent for nothing. I'm not saying that that's how he approaches everything. It's standard practice. If you're a good politician, every politician tests people. They come in, they grab your hand, the grip of the hand, they pull you in to see how you're doing. They'll put you in an uncomfortable situation to see how you respond. It's a test. And you saw Putin, Tucker asked this question. What the first thing Putin did? Took control of the interview by telling a long history lesson. Now, if Tucker was prepared, instead of interrupting and talking about the relevance of this, he would have come in with a question, and Putin would have went, aha, did his homework. Okay, now he's back. Boom. Now now we're boxing. Okay, because he came in, gave me his jab. I pushed in. I got him in the corner. He comes back with a question. Now we're boxing. Now we're talking. Now I'm going to do this. And Putin would have respected that. But instead, what Putin did is basically said, screw it, Tucker. I'm bringing the dog in the room. And you know when he did it. I heard you applied for the CIA, but they didn't take you.
Yes. Yeah.
Tucker's
yes.
I mean, right at that point in time,
his
Tucker,
face, stone face. He did not want to touch that.
That was the end. That was the end of Tucker's controlling the interview, and from that moment on, Putin took charge, which is what Putin did. He realized that the guy couldn't box, so he hit him, and then Putin just went on and gave his answer. He kept going. Do you got anything else for me? Because at that point in time, Putin got bored. To be honest, Putin's just like, I thought you said we're gonna have a serious conversation. Do you got anything else for me? Anything else you want to ask? I mean, come on, man, do something. So this was Vladimir Putin's interview, not Tucker Carlson's interview. Vladimir Putin took, and that's important because again, what Tucker did is give Vladimir Putin a stage, an international stage. Hundreds of millions of viewers so far, more to come, and people are responding to this interview in a positive way. By the way, Tucker Carlson was getting ovations in Dubai, ovations, and I can guarantee you when he comes back to America, he's going to be getting ovations too. He has scared the living crap, excuse my language, out of the establishment, because the last thing the establishment wanted was for Vladimir Putin's words not only to be heard, but to resonate. And now Americans who are realizing that they've been lied to by the Biden administration, by the Trump administration, by everybody about Russia, they've been lied to, are sitting there going, wait a minute, we need to recalibrate right now. And this recalibration is scaring the crap out of the Democrats and, frankly speaking, the Republicans. I will tell you this. I don't know Mike Johnson. I can't speak for him, but I think that he is sleeping a lot easier today about not bringing, not giving the Ukraine aid bill a chance. He says dead on arrival. Well, why? What gives him the confidence to do that? I think what gives him the confidence to do that is the realization that Biden's got nothing, that Ukraine is a dying issue, that there isn't an overwhelming a number of Americans. Tucker Carlson's interview, I believe, is a liberating factor there, because while Johnson isn't going to, you saw, I forget who the senator was, the guy that was holding up the votes for all of the for all the generals for a while. But he said, based on Tucker Carlson's interview, we see Putin is open to negotiations. So why aren't we negotiating instead of giving $64 billion to continue this war? Why aren't we doing that? People are starting to think. People are starting to ask questions. And that was the brilliance of what Tucker Carlson accomplished here.
Yeah, definitely. And Tucker Carlson's interview, the immense interest in it alone is pressure enough, because it shows just so starkly in an election year. I mean, every year is an election year in the United States, it feels like, but in a key election year, it's obvious that interview, the energy around it, the fact that it's already got in 100, 150, however many plus million views ongoing, that's pressure enough to demonstrate people in the United States and the collective West, but if we're just talking about the United States, aren't that interested in the ongoing quagmire the United States wants to place it and continues to place itself in Ukraine. But yet they're very interested when given the opportunity to hear the other side, which shows that maybe there's more interest in the other side than is allowed to be generated. And that alone, for me, feels like political pressure there that the political class understands. Maybe the neocons don't understand this, but certainly those who are using, whether they're genuine or not. I don't always think that Republicans are genuine about the Ukraine question, but they understand that to align with their counterparts on Ukraine at this juncture with regard to funding is political suicide. So that's enough to align and go, and it runs parallel to that interest in Putin's interview. Thank you for tuning in to my latest video. I appreciate all of your support. This channel, however, needs your help.
I am seeking to make this channel more sustainable in the long term and upgrade necessary equipment to ensure that this work continues onward and makes progress to give you all of the geopolitical analysis that you all deserve. For that reason, I'm asking you to become a member of my Patreon community at patreon.com/DannyHaiFong. You can find that link in the video description or in the pinned comment below. For whatever amount you choose to give, just know you are supporting independent media that you can't find anywhere else. Thank you so much, and I look forward to the next video.